This is the second part of Pitt and Fisher sealants. This is the continuation of the previous video which I spoke about. Today in this video we are going to see about the classification of Pitt and Fisher sealants and the technique for application of Pitt and Fisher sealants. First, let me tell you about the classification of Pitt and Fisher sealants. Pitt and Fisher sealants are classified based on four things. The first classification is based on the filler content, and it is again classified based on the color of the sealant, based on generations and based on resin systems. The first thing, based on the filler content, it is subclassified into filled sealants and then unfilled sealants. The second classification is based on color of the Pitt and Fisher sealant. It is subclassified into tinted and opaque, clear and pink color sealants. The third classification is based on generations. It is subclassified into four generations, that is first, second, third and fourth generation sealants. There is a new addition to this particular classification, which is moisture friendly sealants. I will tell you about this in the later part of this video. The fourth classification is based on resin system. It is subclassified into four things, that is resin based sealants, polyacid modified resin sealants, GI based sealants and resin modified GI sealants. Now let us see about each classification. As I said earlier, the first classification is based on filler particle. It is subclassified into filled resin material and unfilled resin material. The filled resin system is usually opaque or it is available in tooth color shades, whereas unfilled resins are colorless or it is tinted transparent material. And if we see the filled material, it is resistant to abrasion and wear, whereas unfilled resin system, it wears quickly. The fillers which are usually used in filled resin system are microscopic glass beads, quartz and other fillers. The advantage of filled resin system is caries prevention, whereas if we see the unfilled resin system, it has better penetration capacity into the Pitt and Fishers and it has better retention when compared to filled resin system. The second classification is based on color of the sealants. The first ever colored sealants were introduced into the US market in the year 1977. These color sealants were introduced for easy detection during follow-up by the dentist and also to reduce chairside working time. As I said, these colored sealants are subclassified into three types, that is tinted and opaque, clear type sealants and pink colored sealants. Tinted and opaque has an advantage of accurate evaluation by the dentist during follow-up, whereas the clear type sealants are usually difficult to detect during follow-up by the dentist. The pink color sealants has an advantage of fluoride releasing property.
Now let us move on to Pitt and Fisher sealants based on generations. And the first is the first generation sealants. The first sealant material that utilized the acid etch technique was introduced in the mid-1960s and was a cyanoacrylate substance. Cyanoacrylates were activated with an ultraviolet light source at a wavelength of 365 nanometer. And cyanoacrylates were first described in 1949 and their potential as adhesives was quickly recognized. And it has the disadvantages that the first generation sealants biodegrades and does not last long in the oral cavity. It was later replaced with other dental materials such as GMA dimethacrylate, and now its second generation sealants. To overcome the cyanoacrylates, it was replaced with second generation sealant material which were found to be resistant to degradation and produced a tenacious bond with etched enamel. Second generation sealants are autopolymerizing, which sets on mixing with a chemical catalyst. And the second generation sealants are bis-GMA dimethacrylate or urethane dimethacrylate based products. The autopolymerizing resins generally performed better than the early ultraviolet light initiated resin sealants. Advantages of second generation sealants. The second generation sealants provided superior retention and caries protection than the first generation sealants, and it has the disadvantages that the operator cannot control the setting time once the catalyst has been added. And now we move on to third generation sealants. The third generation sealants are photoactivated resins which contain a diketone initiator such as camphor quinone and a reducing agent such as tertiary amine to initiate polymerization. Third generation provides better retention rather than caries inhibition. Retention of sealant material is the main determinant for the caries preventive effect of sealant. It has the disadvantages that caries prevention and inhibition is minimal. And now we move on to fourth generation. In fourth generation, fluoride, the pivot of dentistry, continues to be the cornerstone of caries preventive programs. Early in the development of sealants, it was recognized that the addition of fluoride to a sealant or perhaps to the enamel before sealant application could have the potential benefit of additional caries protection. Example is Helioseal F and Teethmate F1. It has an advantage that fluoride releasing sealants have shown antibacterial properties as well as greater resistance to artificial caries in comparison to non-fluoridated sealants. And finally, we move on to the moisture friendly sealants, which is Embrace. Embrace wet bond sealant is a self-priming and self-adhesive and has low technical sensitivity. It is activated with moisture and release fluoride. It also chemically bonds to tooth structure. Embrace has high tensile strength than resin cements. It also has low viscosity, forms longer resin tags, provides high marginal adaptation and well penetrates into deep grooves compared to bis GMA sealants. In the presence of moisture, it flows on the surface and bonds to tooth structure, thus it does not require a bonding agent. And it has an advantage that it is useful in case of difficulty in isolation and less technique sensitive. And now we move on to Pitt and Fisher sealants based on sealant materials. See, there are 4 sealant materials under a classification proposed by Anusavis and colleagues. They are resin based sealants, polyacid modified resin sealants, GI sealants, resin modified GI sealants. The first is the resin-based sealants, which are urethane dimethacrylate (UDMA) or bisphenol A glycidyl methacrylate, also known as bis-GMA, monomers polymerized by either a chemical activator and initiator or light of a specific wavelength and intensity. Resin-based sealants come as unfilled, colorless or tinted transparent materials or as filled, opaque, tooth-colored or white materials. And next is the polyacid modified resin sealants, also referred to as compomers. Combine resin-based material found in traditional resin-based sealants with the fluoride releasing and adhesive properties of GI sealants. And next is the GI sealants, or which are cements that were developed and are used for their fluoride release properties stemming from the acid-base reaction between a fluoroaluminosilicate glass powder and an aqueous-based polyacrylic acid solution. And fourth is the resin-modified GI sealants, or essentially GI sealants with resin components. This type of sealant has similar fluoride releasing properties as glass ionomer, but it has a longer working time and less water sensitivity than do traditional GI sealants. That's all about the classification of Pitt and Fisher sealants. Now we move on to the techniques for the placement of Pitt and Fisher sealants. And And now the steps involved in the techniques of application of pit and fissure sealant. The first is the cleaning the pit and fissure surfaces, and second step is the isolation of the tooth, and third surface is the etching, and fourth is the thoroughly rinsing and drying of the tooth, and finally application of sealant and evaluating the placement of the sealant. And this in step 1, cleaning the pit and fissure surfaces, plaque and debris might interfere with the etching process or sealant penetration. Historically, it has been advocated to clean the surfaces with bristle brush and pumice. Air abrasion also has been suggested for preparation of the occlusal surface before sealant application. And note that use of prophylactic pastes, especially those with fluoride, have been discouraged because it was thought that the fluoride might make the enamel surface less reactive to the etching and thereby reduce the bond strength. Step 2 is the isolation of the tooth. Adequate isolation is the most critical aspect of the sealant application process. Salivary contamination of a tooth surface during or after acid etching will have a deleterious effect on the ultimate bond between enamel and resin. The rubber dam, when properly placed, provides the best, most controllable isolation, and for an operator working alone, it ensures isolation from start to finish. In the absence of rubber dam, cotton roll isolation should be ensured. And the third step, the most critical step in sealant application technique, is acid conditioning or acid etching procedure. Etching enhances the tooth's receptivity to bonding with the sealant. During this critical step, meticulous maintenance of a dry tooth surface is essential for bonding to be successful. And the application of 35 to 40% phosphoric acid on the tooth surface for about 60 seconds should be done. And in step 4, rinsing the etchant and drying the tooth using a compressed air. And then a tooth that is completely dried will exhibit a chalky frosted appearance. And in fifth step is the application of sealant. During sealant application, all the susceptible pits and fissures should be sealed for maximum caries protection. This includes buccal pits of mandibular molars and lingual grooves of maxillary molars. The sealant material can be applied to the tooth in a variety of methods. Many sealant kits have their own dispensers, some preloaded, that directly apply the sealant to the tooth surface. And the final sealant thickness upon application should be at least 0.3 mm. And now finally, evaluation. The sealant should be visually and tactually inspected for complete coverage and absence of voids or bubbles. Attempt should be made to dislodge the sealant with an explorer. If the sealant is dislodged, the tooth should be carefully inspected to see that no debris has been left in the fissure, which may have interfered with the bond. Small voids in the sealant can be repaired simply by adding new material to the void and polymerizing. Some sealants will be completely or partially lost and will require reapplication. During routine recall examinations, it is necessary to re-evaluate the sealed tooth surface both visually and tactually for loss of material, exposure of voids in the material, and caries development. The need for reapplication of sealants is usually highest during the first 6 months after placement.
With this, I conclude that sealing pit and fissures of primary and permanent teeth is an effective method for preventing and arresting caries. However, regular checkups must be conducted to avoid advanced tooth decay attributable to leakages in the sealing. When properly placed and maintained, sealants have proven longevity and will aid in the prevention of caries. Thank you.